Hi, it's Rob from the Brush and Boltgun. Today I'm going to be doing a quick tutorial on how to paint Space Marine fire support markings. So the first colour we're using is Vallejo White. This is just going to be to put on the basic shape of the fire support markings. That's basically like an arrowhead. It's not filled in, so you've got the inverted V kind of shape. So I'm using quite an old brush here. It's an old Citadel medium layer brush, hasn't got a very good point on it. I'm just using this to get the basic shape of the V. Now you'll often find, and what you find in this video as well, is that when you're doing stuff like this, you'll do one side pretty much spot on and the other side not so good. So if you do that, you can just spend your time fixing the side which isn't so good. In my case, it's the right hand side that I was painting on here, which turns out to be slightly off. As when you look on the arrowhead, once the other side's done, it splays and it's slightly too far out. So you want to get each side of the V a decent thickness, going up at roughly the right angle, and then we can work on that and get that pretty much spot on. So I'm just going to speed this up a touch just to get through it. I'll talk us through as we go. So you can see here you've got the pretty much perfect shape going on, although the right hand side there, as well as that little bit that I've just messed up on the right hand edge, it also splays out slightly too far to the right. Hasn't got quite the right angle going down there. You can see that's what I'm looking at there. I'm just going to try and start straightening it out. All you do to straighten out is if you're trying to ease it inwards, get the angle a bit sharper, you would just keep edging the inside edge towards the other until you've got the right angle on there, if that makes sense. So you just get the basic shape on with the wider brush, try and get that white as smooth as possible. Then when you come down to these corner parts and the very tip of the arrow, you want to be using a decent brush with a decent point. Here this is a Citadel medium layer brush. I'm just using this one to get the point as sharp as possible on those bottom corners of the arrow and the actual arrowhead itself. As always, the more you do the markings, the easier it becomes. It's the first one I've actually done. Probably why it takes a little bit longer than it would do after you've practiced it a few times. What I'm trying to do here is just fill in the white to get that as flat as possible, so it's all one colour. Trying to make sure that those angles at the bottom of each side of the arrow and tip of the arrowhead as sharp as possible, and also to try and get the sides as straight as possible too. There's no little lumps and bumps going down the sides or towards the bottom ends. So now we're going to use a little bit of Citadel Mccrack Blue. So this would be whatever colour that your armour is. We're just going to slowly try and shape this to get it a little bit better than it was. So just using the Macragge Blue to gently edge in the sides there. I'm stopping every now and again to have a look at it and see how it looks. See if there's anything that I need to change on it. You can usually tell by looking straight at the symbol whether or not it's symmetrical or whether there's something slightly out of shape there. So you can see a slight bulge at the top of the arrowhead there, which makes the right hand side of the arrow look as though it's slightly thicker on that sort of arm of the arrowhead. So just using a little bit of Macragge Blue to shape that properly. Here I'm using the Mccrack Blue to do a straight line underneath the arrowhead, and that is just to straighten off those bottom edges and get them so that they are nicely angled and perfectly straight. Sometimes it's easy to just do a straight line across rather than trying to actually paint them in straight. The final thing for the fire support markings is the squad number. We are going to be doing squad number 9, just as a bit of a change and to use a couple of different numerals. I'm going to start with the X because the X is the slightly wider one of the numerals that we're going to be using. So you can see here dragging the brush away from the tip so that you get that nice straight thin line. Now probably the trickiest part of doing the numerals, because they're all straight lines, it's pretty easy to do, is the little feet and the little top bits that they all have. And I find these quite tricky is because you can do the straight lines for them really easy. But what tends to happen is one will be slightly thicker, like this one here. I did it slightly too low and I've had to thicken it to correct it. Or you can get them at a slight angle, and as soon as you look at that you will notice that it's slightly off. So all you do is, if you do it slightly too low and then you put a bit more on top so it thickens that up, all you want to do is use a little bit of black to widen that, and then use a little bit of white to gently cut off the bottom like I'm doing here, and just thin that out so that it is on line with the feet on the bottom of the X. A little bit out of focus here, sorry. All we're doing here is I've speeded it up a little bit because we are just tidying up those feet on the bottom of the X and the I. Like so. That is a very quick and easy way to do the fire support markings. Obviously with a bit of practice you'll get it quicker and you'll get it more spot on. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and if you have, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any future content. Also think about subscribing to some of our other social media linked below. Thanks very much.